What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about Chrissy Lampkin was a lie? For over 5 decades, the world has known her as the fiery, outspoken star of love and hip-hop, the woman who stood her ground beside Jim Jones, the ride-or-die who built her own legacy in the shadows of hip-hop royalty. But beneath the lights, beneath the headlines, beneath the reality TV drama, there was a secret. A secret so heavy, so unbelievable, that it remained buried for 53 years until now. Because Chrissy Lampkin has just revealed something that changes everything. The existence of a hidden child. A child the world never knew. A child whose very identity could tear apart families, shake the entertainment industry, and unravel a story that was never supposed to see daylight. Why now? Why after 53 years? And most importantly, who is this child? And why has their face been hidden from the world for so long? The answers are shocking. The betrayals are brutal. And the truth may be darker than anyone ever imagined. What you're about to hear is not just another celebrity revelation. This is a thriller unfolding in real time. Friends turned enemies. Secrets exchanged in whispers. A drama so raw it feels scripted, except this isn't television. This is real. Stay with us. Because by the end of this story, you'll be forced to ask yourself one chilling question. Was Chrissy Lampkin protecting her family or protecting herself? The story begins not in the flashing lights of reality television, not on the dramatic sets of Love and Hip Hop, but decades earlier, in a quiet neighborhood far removed from celebrity cameras. Chrissy Lampkin was born in 1971, and from the start, her life carried shadows the public never fully understood. Friends remember her as confident, fiery, even in her teenage years. But behind that boldness was something else, a guardedness. A wall she built around herself, as if she were protecting a story too painful to tell. For years, whispers followed her. Rumors of a pregnancy when she was barely a teenager. Gossip that she vanished for a summer, only to return months later, looking thinner, quieter, changed. In those days, secrets were easier to bury. Families moved in silence, communities protected their own. And young girls who faced impossible choices were often forced into silence. Fast forward decades later, Chrissy Lampkin entered the public eye with her explosive presence on Love and Hip Hop. Viewers saw her love story with rapper Jim Jones play out like a reality TV soap opera. The proposals, the fights, the loyalty tested again and again. Millions tuned in, watching her every move, dissecting every line. But what no one saw, what no one even guessed, was that beneath the glitz and chaos, Chrissy was carrying the weight of a 53-year-old. Secret. The first crack appeared in an unexpected place. It was during an interview on a small podcast that Chrissy let slip a cryptic line. The host asked her about legacy, about what she wanted to leave behind. And Chrissy, instead of answering directly, paused. She looked down, her voice lowering as she said, "Sometimes the things you leave behind are the things you've hidden the longest." The room went silent. The host, unsure whether she meant her career or something more personal, moved on. But fans caught it. Twitter lit up with speculation. What did Chrissy mean by that? Hidden like what? Clips of the interview went viral, racking up millions of views in days. And then came the bombshell. A leaked photo surfaced grainy. It's unverified but explosive nonetheless. It showed a young woman, mid-20s, standing next to Chrissy at what appeared to be a family gathering. The resemblance was uncanny. The same eyes, the same cheekbones. Fans went into overdrive. Who was she? Was this Chrissy's niece? Or something more? The speculation grew until Chrissy could no longer stay silent. In a tearful Instagram Live, she confessed what the world never expected. "Yes, I have a child. I've always had a child. And for 53 years, I've kept her face hidden from you all." The revelation hit like a thunderclap. Fans were stunned. Jim Jones himself reportedly stormed out of the room when he first heard the news. Industry insiders whispered that this wasn't just personal drama. It was about image, branding, and the empire they had built together. But the most haunting question remained. Why? Why would a mother hide her child's face for more than half a century? Why wait until now to tell the truth? Some claim Chrissy had been protecting her daughter from the harsh spotlight of fame. Others believed it was deeper, a story of family betrayal, of promises made and broken, of secrets exchanged behind closed doors. Insiders whispered about an agreement made years ago that the child would be raised away from the cameras, her identity concealed, in exchange for Chrissy's silence about a painful chapter in her life. And that's where the story turns from shocking to twisted. Because the moment Chrissy revealed her child's existence, the past she thought she'd buried began clawing its way back to the surface. Old friends came forward with stories. Family members whispered about fights, about disappearances, about deals struck in the dead of night. One relative, speaking anonymously, said, "Chrissy didn't just hide her child. She hid the truth about why she had to." The world leaned closer. The puzzle pieces were falling into place. But with every answer came more questions. Was Chrissy forced to choose between her future and her child? Did the entertainment industry play a role in silencing her? And who was really behind the decision to hide the child's identity for over 5 decades? As the first part of this thriller closed, one thing was clear. Chrissy Lampkin's secret wasn't just about motherhood. It was about power, image, and survival, and the fallout was only just beginning. The fallout was instant, loud, and impossible to contain. The moment Chrissy Lampkin confirmed the existence of her hidden child, the internet erupted. Blogs plastered her face across every headline. YouTubers dissected every second of her Instagram. Live TikTok flooded with side-by-side comparisons of Chrissy and the young woman. Rumored to be her daughter, fans were split. Some rallied behind her, calling her a protective mother, shielding her child from the brutality of fame. Others were less forgiving. 53 years. That's not protection, that's abandonment, one tweet read, racking up thousands of likes. And then came the family, insiders close to the second. Close to the Lampkin circle described chaos behind closed doors. Jim Jones, blindsided, allegedly demanded answers. "Why didn't you tell me?" he shouted during a heated exchange, according to one source. Chrissy, in tears, reportedly responded, "I had to protect her. You don't understand." The couple, long celebrated for their ride-or-die loyalty, now faced cracks deeper than any love and hip-hop storyline had ever shown. But the drama didn't stop at home. Media outlets began digging into Chrissy's past, pulling court documents, property records, and even old neighbors willing to spill secrets. And what they uncovered only made the story darker. Critics argued that Chrissy's reveal wasn't an act of courage, it was an act of necessity. Whispers suggested she had been blackmailed, that someone close to the family was preparing to expose the truth. Forcing Chrissy's hand, an anonymous insider claimed she didn't want to go public now. She was pushed into it. Someone had receipts. Someone was ready to leak. True, this wasn't a heartfelt confession, it was survival. Meanwhile, the alleged daughter herself remained silent. Her face appearing in blurred photos online, but her voice unheard. The mystery deepened. Who was she? What did she know? And why was she staying quiet while the world debated her existence? Speculation turned sinister when conspiracy theories spread. Some fans claimed Chrissy's daughter was tied to a powerful figure in the industry. Others whispered that the young woman had been raised under another name, part of an elaborate cover-up. And then came the first major escalation. Outside Chrissy's New Jersey home, protesters gathered. Some carried signs reading "Mothers Protect, Don't Hide." Others defended her, chanting she did it for love. What began as peaceful soon turned ugly. Neighbors reported shouting matches, police were called, and videos of fans clashing hit social media within hours. The media storm raged harder. Talk shows invited family therapists, legal analysts, and even former Love and Hip Hop cast members to weigh in. One commentator bluntly declared, "This isn't just personal. This is generational trauma unfolding in front of millions. But the most shocking blow didn't come from fans or critics. It came from within the Lampkin family itself. A cousin stepped forward with an explosive claim. Chrissy didn't just hide her daughter's face. She hid who the father really was. And if that comes out, everything changes. The revelation sent shockwaves through the industry. Was Jim Jones the father? Or was this a secret from before their decades-long relationship even began? Some speculated the father was a man of influence, someone whose identity had to remain hidden to protect reputations and careers. As if that weren't enough, the alleged daughter's silence cracked, but not through words. Her silence cracked, but not through words. On Instagram, she posted a single story, a photo of herself as a child, her eyes unmistakably resembling Chrissy's. The caption, just 3 words, "Now you know." The internet lost its mind. Fans reposted it millions of times. Commentators called it the confirmation Chrissy tried to avoid. And suddenly the daughter's face was no longer hidden. The backlash was brutal. Some accused Chrissy of robbing her daughter of agency, of forcing her into the spotlight after decades of silence. Others sympathized, arguing that Chrissy had been protecting her from the ugliness now playing out. Through it all, Chrissy remained silent, but Jim Jones finally broke his. On a live stream, his voice low, he admitted, "I didn't know. I feel betrayed like y'all do. But I'm standing by her because that's what family does." The live stream went viral, but instead of calming the storm, it fueled it. Fans accused Jim of enabling the secrecy, while others praised him for his loyalty. And still, one haunting question remained unanswered. Who was the father? Rumors swirled that an industry heavyweight, a man whose name alone could shake the culture, was involved. Insiders whispered that the truth, if revealed, could topple careers and reputations at the highest levels. By the end of part 2, the world was left staring into the abyss of unanswered questions. Why did Chrissy finally confess? Was it protection, blackmail, or guilt? Who fathered the child, and why was that detail guarded like a state secret? And most chilling of all, what role did power, fame, and the music industry itself play in burying this story for more than half a century? The storm wasn't calming. It was building. And the next chapter promised to tear the entire Lampkin legacy apart. The world was no longer just curious, it was obsessed. Chrissy Lampkin's hidden child had become more than a personal revelation. It was a cultural earthquake. Fans, media outlets, even politicians weighed in, treating it like a national scandal. But as the noise grew louder, one truth became clearer. The storm was far from over. At the center of it all stood Chrissy, a woman who had built her life on strength and resilience, now forced into the most vulnerable position of her career. For the first time, the cameras weren't on her terms. The story wasn't scripted for reality TV. It was raw, uncontrolled. And spiraling, then came the biggest escalation yet. A leaked document surfaced, a birth certificate. Though heavily redacted, it carried one line that could not be ignored: the father's name. It wasn't Jim Jones. It wasn't a stranger. It was a name tied to power, wealth, and influence, a figure deeply entrenched in the very industry that Chrissy and Jim had. Navigated for decades, the internet went into overdrive. Was it a legendary rapper from the old guard? A label executive? Or someone even closer to home? A man Chrissy once called a friend. The daughter, silent until now, finally broke through with her voice. In an emotional Instagram live, she declared, "I've been hidden for too long. I didn't ask for this life. I didn't ask to be a secret. But I will no longer let others decide my story." Her words were raw, trembling, but powerful. Fans flooded the comments with support while critics demanded answers. For Chrissy, it was a nightmare come true. The daughter she'd tried to protect was now stepping into the very spotlight she had once shielded her from. And with her step into the light, the questions Chrissy had avoided for 53 years burned hotter than ever. Family insiders described explosive arguments. Jim Jones, once calm, reportedly demanded to know the truth. "Who is he?" he pressed. Chrissy, breaking down, whispered, If you knew, it would destroy everything. The secrecy fractured the family. Cousins picked sides, old friends leaked stories to blogs, and former castmates of Love and Hip Hop rushed to capitalize, hinting that they had known something big all along. Meanwhile, outside the family, the public response turned into chaos. Protests escalated into near riots. Fans clashed outside VH1 headquarters, demanding Chrissy's removal from any future projects. At the same time, another crowd gathered, chanting "Protect Chrissy," arguing she had been unfairly villainized for making an impossible choice. The tension wasn't just social. It was political. Advocacy groups debated whether Chrissy's secrecy was a story of maternal protection or generational shame. Think pieces filled the news cycle, comparing her to historical figures who had been forced to conceal children in the face of stigma. But at the heart of the storm was one truth. The father's identity was the missing piece. Insiders whispered darker possibilities. Some claimed the father was married at the time, making Chrissy's secret not just scandalous, but potentially destructive to multiple families. Others alleged industry cover-ups. Powerful men paying to keep the truth buried for decades. The crescendo built toward one final revelation. During a tense reunion, dinner filmed privately by a family member, Chrissy was confronted directly by her daughter. "Why did you hide me?" she asked through tears. Chrissy's voice cracked as she replied, "Because I loved you. Because if the world knew who your father was, they would have destroyed you before you ever had a chance to live." Her daughter pressed, "Who is he?" Chrissy shook her head, eyes filled with anguish. "If I say his name, everything falls apart. Families, careers, lives. It's bigger than me. Bigger than us." The room fell silent. Cameras turned off. And once again, the truth slipped through everyone's fingers. The fallout was devastating. Jim Jones reportedly moved out temporarily, struggling to reconcile his loyalty with his anger. The daughter, emboldened, began working on a Talal memoir. And Chrissy. She retreated from the public eye, leaving fans desperate for answers that never came. By the end of it, the story had become more than just a celebrity scandal. It was a parable about secrets, power, the cost of silence, collapse, betrayal, exposure, change. The truth was out, but the biggest truth. The father's name still dangled like a blade over the family's head, and the world, hooked and divided, was left waiting, because if that final name ever surfaced, it wouldn't just change Chrissy Lampkin's story. It could change hip-hop, reality TV, and the culture itself. The cliffhanger wasn't just about a child revealed. It was about an empire on the verge of collapse. And the final question lingered in every viewer's mind. What happens when the last secret finally breaks? For 53 years, Chrissy Lampkin carried a secret that no one could have imagined. A hidden child. A life lived in the shadows. A family built on silence, loyalty, and fear of what the truth might unleash. And now the world has seen just enough to know one thing. This story is bigger, darker, and more twisted than anyone ever realized. The child is no longer hidden. The world has questions, and Chrissy's empire, her family, her relationship with Jim Jones, her legacy on Love and Hip Hop now hangs by a thread. Some say she was protecting her daughter. Others say she was protecting herself. And still, the biggest question of all remains unanswered. Who is the father? The fallout is historic. Families divided, fans enraged, protesters on the streets, and an entire culture left to wrestle with the price of silence, loyalty, and betrayal. But now it's your turn. Do you think Chrissy was right to keep her child's face hidden for 53 years? Was this a mother's protection? Or the ultimate act of deception? And who do you believe the mysterious father really is? Drop your theories in the comments below, because your voice is part of this story now. And if you want the truth, unfiltered, the kind of revelations mainstream media won't dare touch, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because every time this story twists, every time another secret cracks open, we'll be here to break it down first. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand just how fast legacies can collapse. and how one secret can haunt an entire family for half a century. Because the Lampkin story isn't over. The story isn't ending. It's only beginning. Ending. It's only beginning.